There's a hill on my right-hand side, so I'm literally looking over my right shoulder to see if any cars were coming. And next thing I know, I woke up a handful of days later. What ended up happening in that situation was a kid drifted into the middle lane and hits right behind the driver's side door of my 65 Volkswagen Bug, which my car does a 180. I eject out the now open driver's side door, bounce across the 2 lanes of incoming traffic, and they found me about 60 to 80 feet away from my car at the scene of the accident.
Welcome to When You Look, where ordinary people share their extraordinary experiences, and you get to decide, was it coincidence or God? Hey, Sean, thanks a bunch for being on When You Look, man. Great to have you on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
100%, dude. Very interested in you sharing your story, but before we get to that, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, originally born and raised Southern California, moved to the East Coast in 2008, been in the Virginia metro, Richmond metro areas since then. Made it home, and it's just been a blessing being around this area.
Yeah, awesome. Well, let's get into your story and set us up with a little bit of the backstory and then walk us through the whole series of events.
Yes, story. I mean, to set the stage, it's late 90s, just graduated high school. It's the September after graduation. It was a normal Friday. I just picked up a 1965 Volkswagen Bug, picked up the last piece for it. It's making 100% original. Was about to go and grab a friend and go out to lunch. And and I was dating the girl of my dreams, and just everything was going smooth. I had some tryouts with some Major League Baseball teams, and things were aimed in the right direction. So I was sitting very pretty as a 17, almost 18-year-old.
So I kind of feel like then there's a maybe a but that's going to happen here, or a something happens next. So give us some insight into that.
But to that, yeah.
Yeah.
So right after I had installed the last piece, at the dune buggy shop I was at with some buddies of mine, looked to my left, no cars coming, pulled out into the middle lane. There's 2 lanes eastbound, 2 lanes westbound, huge merging lane in between. There's a hill on my right-hand side, so I'm literally looking over my right shoulder to see if any cars were coming. And next thing I know, I woke up a handful of days later. What ended up happening in that situation was a kid drifted into the middle lane and hits right behind the driver's side door of my 65 Volkswagen Bug, which my car does a 180. I eject out the now open driver's side door, bounce across the 2 lanes of incoming traffic. And they found me about 60 to 80 feet away from my car at the scene of the accident. Driver's seat was out in the middle of the street. It broke the welds off the frame. I had race seats in the Bug. The doors pried around the hood of the vehicle. The left side of my face impacted heavily the door jamb on my way out of the vehicle. So I had 126 stitches down left side of my face. Some severe brain injuries. I had 2 brain aneurysms. I broken the C5 vertebrae in my neck. I had what's called a shearing of the brain. So it's, if you took a cup of ice and water and spin the cup, the ice stays straight in the cup and doesn't move. That's what my scalp and brain did. So they were disconnected from my skull due to the impact. Word is from the paramedics, the only thing that stayed in the car, my tennis shoes. One was on the clutch, one was on the brake. So literally knocked out on my tennis shoes. Cartoon worthy. And then I guess I don't have any memory of it, but I was fighting with the paramedics to see how my car was doing. When they found me at the scene, laying on the ground with a broken neck. So that car was my baby for the handful of months that I had it before the accident. My friend who worked at the dune buggy shop, he found my exhaust about 200 feet away on train tracks. So the car literally just got annihilated.
Massive car accident, clearly. You're essentially T-boned on the driver's side, just behind the driver door.
In an aluminum can, basically.
Okay, in an aluminum can, right. And so that aluminum can, the 65 Bug, basically begins to, no knock on the VW Bug, but it begins to disintegrate, so to speak.
Yeah.
And you are ultimately ejected out of it.
Correct.
They find you 60 to 80 feet away. And then at some point, probably sooner than later, paramedics are on the scene, and but some of this you're not even aware of right at this point in your story. So, so Tell us a little bit about what happens at the hospital, and waking up, or even before that. Tell us a little more there.
Yeah, no, my memory. So basically, I had to get rushed to the hospital. They were wondering, like, should we med flight him out or ambulance? So like the helicopter's don't take too long, let's just drive. So they rushed me to the hospital. I immediately have to go into brain surgery. I was not at a level 1 trauma center. I was in Palm Springs area of Southern California. It was not well known for its medical care and other hospitals and ERs, but thankfully I was in good hands. I would get rushed to the hospital. They realized that I had my broken neck. I had severe facial lacerations and lacerations all over the body. Didn't break my jaw. Don't know how that didn't happen with as hard as I hit the side of my car, but they had to rush me in for emergent brain surgery. I had 2 aneurysms, one in the back of the head and then one kind of right in front of the right ear. They go in and they operate on that. And then obviously then they stitched me up and everything else. Well, I was completely out. The day that they woke me up out of surgery, they told my parents that he's equivalent to about a 2-year-old child. We'll see what he goes month to month, year to year. He's going to be here 6 to 9 months. He's not going to remember himself because of where my brain injuries were. It was basically like all of your memory, all of your personality, like everything about you. So my parents, obviously, and family get dealt quite a deck of cards in that moment, in that meeting. And then I'm completely unconscious. I'm still fully sedated and waiting for, see how things are going to recover. How's my neck? Am I going to have surgery on that as well? And a potential halo, or how are they going to handle the broken C5 vertebrae? And so is that all's going on? Obviously, all friends and family kind of start rushing to the hospital to kind of surround me. And then it was day 2 or 3 out of surgeries when my memory starts to briefly come in and into play. And backtrack, I guess when they first woke me up, they handed me, because I couldn't see and I was intubated and everything else, they handed me a piece of paper and I wrote, "Where's Melissa?" as opposed to "Where's Melissa?" But that was my girlfriend at the time.
Okay.
My mom is still angry to this day that she gets handed a letter like, "Well, who's Melissa?" and not, "Where's mom?" Which is fine. She'll get over it. Maybe never. She still gives me beef about it, so it's fine. Yeah. So all that happens, and then they just keep me out, let my body start to rest and heal. And then when my memory starts kicking in, which is about maybe 3 days post-op, they said somehow your son aged 12 to 15 years overnight. We'd never expected this to happen. We didn't do this. Like, this was just the luck of the draw for him. Like, there's no explaining. Like, medicine didn't make this happen.
Mm-hmm.
We did our best to save him, but with his injuries, whether they were completely blown away. Again, my 6 to 9 month stay in the hospital ended in 11 days, so a little shorter than they had anticipated. And I was released on my mom's birthday, no less. So at that point in time, like, fast forward into the future, before I left Southern California, every day on my mom's birthday, no matter where I was around the world, I'd make sure I was home for her birthday, just as a commemorative little thank you and I'm still alive nod. And so start to come out, memory starts to kick in. Like, I'm right back to my normal self. My girlfriend at the time, Melissa, she came down from college. She had just started college. She was a freshman, and then gets her world rocked that way. And so we had a friend of ours that she was not quite friends with at that point in time, but drove and picked her up and drove her straight down the hospital so that she had a chance to see me. So she came down to see me, and I remember, I think I hobbled down and just in my gown with probably backside fully exposed, and like went to the gift shop at the hospital and grabbed her flowers to meet her when she came to see me. So that all happened, and then my neurosurgeon let me know, he's like, you have no deficits at the current moment that we're aware of. There's a neurologist that's out of San Francisco that doesn't believe that you have 0 repercussions, and he just wants to meet with you. So the guy flew down and he asked me, he's like, can we do, maybe 6 to 8 hours of testing just so I can see what's going on with you? Do you mind? I'm literally thinking, like, I have nothing else to do right now. So sure. Like, I'm going nowhere. When he flew down, we did a bunch of testing, and he even said himself, he's like, medicine didn't heal you. Like, you're here for a reason. He's like, I'm not religious, but I'm just going to leave it at that. And that always kind of sat there. And then into the healing process, I get out of the hospital, get home, and then I couldn't lay down flat for 3 months due to fear of either one of my aneurysms re-rupturing and going to that route. So I had to live in a lazy boy recliner. That was the longest 3 months of my life. That chair got really uncomfortable after like day 2. But recovery went well. I mean, I just had to sit around and pretty much do nothing, let my body heal. But when I went into the hospital, due to I was playing baseball and I'm very actively playing ball. I went in weighing like 195, 200 pounds, 6'1" ish, phenomenal shape, 17, 18-inch neck. I mean, I was a decent sized kid. In 11 days, I lost about 50 pounds, and I came out of the hospital weighing 155 pounds. And I couldn't see my neck because it was broken, so I was in a C-collar anyways. And then I was working with a few major league teams. All those things fell through because it's the late 90s. There was no cell phones. There was no real email at that point in time, so no way to get back in contact. And if I'm not answering calls and not returning anyone's calls, I was a drop in a bucket and they didn't care. The time I was looking at being going straight into AAA and then spend 1 year pitching AAA and then get moved up fairly quickly into the majors. So it was quite the, I wasn't necessarily cocky about it, or it was just kind of one of those. I went to like a teeny tiny school. There was really no way to know about who I was or what I was doing, but went to some open tryouts that way. And then that's when I started getting noticed and recognized like, oh, this kid's actually decent. But all that very quickly went away, which at the time I was a little angry about when I got home, and it's kind of stewing in that, like, why did I have to lose this? Like, it will never come back. And so part of my recovery is my brain was so swollen when they went to stitch me up after operating this aneurysm. They gave me what's known as a bone flap. So it's basically just put that piece of bone back underneath the skin, and they're like, it will heal on its own, like it will reattach. And that's just kind of what they left for that. So my brain was too swollen for them to attach it themselves. So I'm at home, I'm recovering. Basically, my doctor's just like, you're healing great. Like, everything's going to go fine. Don't get hit in the head in the next year. And it's like, duly noted, right? Like, wow.
That's probably good advice. Yeah.
Solid advice. So yes, like I said, I'm back home. I had my best friend at the time. He would come when he'd get out of work or class, and he would come in to sleep on the ground beside my recliner chair. It means the world to me still to this day. And he and I still talk on occasion. He's still back in California, and I'm East Coast, so it's hit or miss. But yeah, it's still like when we talk, it's no time has passed. So. But yeah, so as I'm recovering, things were what they were. Like, all my classes I got dropped out of, baseball completely gone. And I was just at home. It was just me and my dog and my best friend. He'd come home, and my mom, she didn't go back to work for a while. And there was one point in time where I was home by myself. I don't know if my mom was running errands, and my dog was he was an English lab. He was a yellow lab, beautiful dog. And he kept throwing his tennis ball at me, and I'm just sitting in the recliner, like, I was home by myself. It's like, let's go outside. Like, let's toss the ball for a second. Still, huge neck brace. Sores can be like, hobble outside with the dog. Like, so I look down, through the neck brace, and I see where he dropped the ball. I went to kick the ball, and right when I kicked the ball, I literally feel my brain just jiggle inside of my skull, like, just from the vibrations of that. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go back inside and sit back down. Like, that was a terrible idea. Like, so it ended his play day very quickly. So yeah,
Wow.
so went back in, and like I said, just pretty much I watched, I think the 30th or 35th, I think 30th anniversary of having the Tommy Boy was like on repeat, rewind every day. I mean, that movie got me through. But yeah, so sitting at home, and then in the evenings, I started having, I couldn't lay down flat due to all the swelling and aneurysms. I started getting this like popping sound that I just could not shake. And about 2 or 3 days go by, I'm not really getting sleep. And I asked my mom, I said, hey, I got this weird clicking sound. I'm trying to go to bed. Do you have any idea? She's like, well, maybe it's your sinuses. Maybe it's like something's just coming back into functioning. And I was like, oh, that kind of makes sense. Okay. And then like about another week or two goes by, and I'm still not getting any sleep. And one night I finally get up and I look in the mirror, and I can see my skull was popping off of itself with my pulse. So as my brain was deswelling, my skull was, trying to get back into that open space, but it was just sitting there. And that's all I heard. So maybe another week, a handful of days go by, and I just sit in the chair. I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like, this has got to stop. And I just reached up and I pushed down really hard on that spot, and probably a sound I'll never shake from my nightmares. Just gets gonna. And in that moment, I was just like, I've made the biggest mistake of my life. Like, what was I doing? And I just sat there
Yeah.
waiting to be dead. Right? I was just like, all right, it's done. And then I sat there and I kind of opened my eyes and I looked around and I went and looked into the mirror and popping had stopped. So I literally had reset my skull. Um, and since then, there's been no clicking and it's fairly smooth. So obviously I pushed it in fairly well.
Yeah.
But what's crazy about, again, speaking of not having the level 1 trauma center and all those things, my accident happened in the end of September of 98. And then the last time I saw any doctor regarding anything of my accident was when they took my collar off of my neck on, I think it was December 17th of the same year. So I have never had any return phone calls, never, how are you doing? Did everything heal? Did your skull reattach itself? There's been nothing since 1998. So again, healthcare I think has changed a little bit since then. But yeah, so speaking of that, so like I said, I had 17, 18-inch neck when I went in. When they took my collar off, my neck measured 11 inches. So I went, and I do not have the smallest head in the world. I don't know if people are going to see this on the podcast or not, or hear the size of my noggin. It's not small. And on an 11-inch neck, it was quite the toothpick holding up my noggin. But yeah, so all that happened. And then, like I said, they told me 6 to 9 months I'd be in the hospital, but I was out in 11 days. Hadn't seen anyone since I think December 18th of 98. And then I started back to school in that fall. And then I went to, or actually I took some summer classes. So I was going to summer classes to get caught up so I missed a year and I ended up getting, took some summer school classes to see how I was going to do. Things went well. And then I did one summer school session and then moved up towards where my girlfriend was living at the time and started going to the junior college there just to try to. So within 9 months of my car accident, I was living on my own in an apartment and going to school full time, driving again. So yeah, so life bounced back fairly quickly, which for a 17 and then at that point in time I was now 18-year-old individual, like it was kind of surreal that how fast things happen. I never pushed the baseball ticket again. I just felt like if it was taken away that once, I didn't want to push it to happen again. And I don't think I had touched a mound in maybe 2 years since my car accident. And then a friend of mine reached out. He's like, hey, I'm helping with this high school team. He and I had some college classes together. He's like, do you just want to come and play around? And I started throwing. I didn't lose anything. And in those 2 years of not sitting on them, I threw just as good, if not better. But still, is just like, all right, that was a good temptation. I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm gonna be content where I'm at. So yeah, so that kind of ends that chapter of life. It was almost like a huge novel ended at 17, 18 to open up a whole new book versus a new chapter.
Yeah. Wow. Interesting way to say that. New book instead of a new chapter.
Yeah. I think that book closed itself. So it was a big the end and a little reboot.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to hear a little bit more about the reboot in a second, but let's stay in this chapter for just another moment because I really think this deserves a bit of a recap. We're talking about getting hit at a velocity that ejects you from the car.
Yeah.
You're physically removed from your shoes. So your shoes remain in the car. You leave the car.
Yep.
Massive trauma to your brain, 2 aneurysms specifically, lots of lacerations, including the 126 stitches to essentially close your face back up.
So, I mean, this entire jawline, like this ear was halfway ripped off. And then I still had asphalt in my face. You can see a little bit of discoloration in the video, but there's a little nodule of asphalt that never made its way all the way out.
Wow.
So
And the prognosis, the initial prognosis is essentially, we're not sure if he's going to return to adult brain function.
Correct. Like basically a 2-year-old kid. Yeah.
Yeah. 2-year-old kid, exactly. And we anticipate he's going to be inpatient 6 to 9 months. And within days, you are more or less back to normal brain function, despite multiple surgeries, or one surgery, two surgeries,
just one major
one surgery for the 2 aneurysms, right? And you are discharged from the hospital after 11 days.
Correct. Yeah. So a little bit happened in 11 days, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah. Okay. So well, there's still a little bit more, right? So there's roughly 50 pounds of weight loss. And at that point, that's all muscle. The shift ultimately happens for you. And I think this is kind of where we want to go next. Tell us a little bit more about that shift in terms of baseball no longer being a passion for you.
Yeah. I mean, it was interesting, something that had meant so much for so long, that when the accident happened, I mean, I didn't have a choice. Like there was no, hey, I'm going to get back into this. I'm going to bounce right back. Let me reach out to these contacts that I still have, because when that happened, it just kind of, I mean, I will say definitely the first month or two being out of the hospital, I was pretty angry about what I had and what was stripped away. No question. And so, yeah, it was a bitter pill to swallow, and it was, I think, really hard. I think I held more to look at what I've accomplished in my life versus at only 17. I look at how far I've made it, coming from like a teeny tiny school that has no recognition for a decent team, to be at the level that I was at that time. So yeah, I think it was hard to have that go away, but I think, like I said, when that book ended, I really didn't have that desire anymore to be like, yeah, like let me try this again. Like, let me push that envelope one more time. Like, I still got it. I'm good. I can do this. But there was something there that I think just made it very evident that was not the path that I needed to be going down. And I think that I'm sure that at some point in time that there was something in my head that I just completely ignored, or someone said something that I completely missed about that. And I was just headstrong, and this is where I'm going. This is going to be great money. I'm a kid. Like, the opportunity is absolutely endless of what I could do. But I think that there was something else there that was, nope, that's actually not your path. That's not where you should be going. And since you didn't listen the 8,000 times I've told you, like, here's an 80-mile-an-hour car drifting into you that's going to slow you down for a second. I mean, it was quite the eye-opening experience, to say the least.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you might be alluding to someone or something telling you 8,000 times. So be a little bit more clear about that. What's that really mean for you?
Yeah, I mean, I was born and raised in a Christian family. I couldn't necessarily go back in time to where I said, like, I accepted Christ on this day. I mean, I just don't ever remember a time in my life where I didn't believe. And then I just feel that I guess, I mean, at that point in time, at 17, 18, I can't think of most 17, 18-year-olds that have an amazing relationship with God where they feel fully connected. I mean, I think we're all doubting, we're all just like, is this real? Is this not? Like, what are we doing? What am I doing? Kind of thing. And I thought I had everything figured out that I wanted to go down. And obviously, I think God had another idea. No, it's not where you need to be. And yeah, I think he knocked a little sense into me. I mean, total pun intended dad joke. But I didn't hear whatever else he was saying. And so he sent a Nissan Sentra going the estimated between 60 and 80 miles an hour when it made impact. The kid never touched his brakes. So he hit me going full bore. And yeah, I guess that was the tap on the shoulder that I really needed.
Yeah. Wow. Well, Sean, Before we end this, tell us a little bit about what happened in sort of life since then.
Yeah, so the girl of my dreams that I was dating, we ended up getting married in 2003 after we both had graduated college. And then we lived together, or we moved out. Obviously, we're living together. We got married and hung out in the Los Angeles area for about a year and a half until traffic was getting in the way of life in general. And we started doing some traveling with her work. And then she wanted to go back to school. And then we settled in Virginia thinking, so traveling for 4.5 years, give or take every 3 months to a year is when we would pick in the place we want to go to and just go and explore and hang out. So we basically lived a retired lifestyle. And she worked 3 days a week. But it's like beyond that, it's just like we have no responsibilities. We have no kids. We have no this. And we're in our mid-20s. And it was just, we had a great time. And we saw the world at that point in time, or what we thought was the world. And then when she wanted to go back to school, we moved to Virginia thinking, all right, like we'll finish up school here. Then we got to figure out where we're going to go next because we're going to get that travel bug and the itch, and it's time to move on again. And we moved here and kind of fell in love, and we have not left the area since that. So we we're here. We're married. We, like I said, we've been married since 2003. So we just came up on 22 years of being married. We have 2 little kids, which is mind blowing, being married for 22 plus years, and we have kids that aren't even 10 years old yet, but we had a good time before that. I wish I was 10 years younger with the kids age that we have right now because they are exhausting, but I wouldn't change it for the world.
I track with that. For sure.
But yeah, I mean, everything just kind of fell into place. And yeah, I think so. I still think it, I'm now 44 years of age. I don't think I know exactly why I'm still here, but I know I have 2 kids that I'm unbelievably grateful for, and I get to spend as much time with them than more so than your average parent, and I do not take that for granted. And if that's the reason why I'm here, I'm totally okay with that.
Yeah, right on. Well, Sean, thanks a bunch for sharing all that, man. There's so much neat stuff there, so many details, so much of a miracle, at least from my perspective. So let's hear from your perspective. So we always ask these last 2 questions of each of our guests. The first one is, was it coincidence or God?
I think that's been evidently clear that it was not coincidental at all that all of that happened. So purely a God intervening, going, no, this is not the path you need to be on. Like, let me set you straight. And he set me straight.
Yeah. And kept you alive in the process, obviously.
Somehow.
Yeah. Well, final question for you. How has your life changed as a result of all of this?
Yeah, I think in a lot of ways. I mean, I don't know if I would have been in the majors at 18, 19, would I have married the girl of my dreams, or would I have been too distracted on what I was accomplishing? So that's always a big what if. I mean, I've loved her from day one, so I don't think that would have been a deviation from my path, but hard to say. I think my wife sometimes coins me as having toxic positivity. But I think anyone who's been in a situation in a life and like truly life and death should not be standing, should not be walking, like should be 6 feet under or cremated and thrown somewhere over whoever and wherever. Yeah, I think every morning I wake up and my eyes open up, I'm thankful and grateful that I have another day underneath my feet. And I think from that standpoint, I mean, I guess if I could try to teach anyone anything, it's as hard as you think it is, it's always going to be harder. It'll always be harder. But like if your eyes opened up this day, like you have a reason to get this, whether you're of any kind of faith or not. It's like if you're lucky enough to grace this earth with one more day, another 24 hours or handful of hours, whatever it may be, make the best of it and don't be grumpy about it.
I think that's good advice. Well, it's been a real pleasure, man. Thanks a bunch for coming on When You Look. It's an absolute pleasure to be able to chat through this story with you. And When You Look is powered by amazing firsthand accounts like this. So we genuinely appreciate you sharing the story, man.
Truly my
Best of
pleasure.
luck to you.
Thank you.
And we'll chat soon.
Can't wait.
Well, there you have it. Was it coincidence or God? You decide for yourself, but I believe you just heard a story for His glory. When You Look is powered by the stories that guests share. So if you have a story to tell, let us know by going to whenyoulook.com and click on Be a Guest, or click on the link in the description below. Please subscribe to the channel, like this video, tell us what you think in the comments, and share it with somebody that will be impacted by the story. Thanks and God bless.